Hey, what's up everybody? This is Quet, and in today's video we're going to continue going over higher order functions, and today's function is going to be the reduce method. The reduce method is defined on MDN as a method that executes a reducer function that you provide on each member of the array resulting in a single output value. Now, this kind of confused me when I first read it. When I first started using the reduce method, I was always a little confused as to how it works. I kind of got the idea, but the wording and the examples that I would see didn't quite click with me. So hopefully this video will help the reduce method kind of click for you a little bit faster than it did with me. And I'm gonna break it down in a way that I think should achieve that goal. So first, we're gonna make a variable here, and we're gonna call it num, and we're gonna just give it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. So we have our variable, and now the reduce method will go into how that works, and we're just gonna go ahead and console log out the reduce method that we're gonna produce. So if we do num dot reduce here, so far everything kind of looks like the rest of the higher order functions that we've gone over. Um, but we're gonna see a change here in the very beginning. So instead of like kind of making a variable and using the whole arrow function type of business, we're gonna use accumulator or ACC and then a current value. I'm just gonna use value as the example. Now these two variables can be whatever you want. I've used accumulator and value. I've used previous and next. I've used total and um, just whatever. You can put literally whatever you want. Whatever makes sense to you, just go with it. If you switch it up, it's fine, not a problem at all. So here we're starting off. Instead of just having that one index to saying, hey, grab the, iterate over every index, we're using accumulator and value. So the accumulator is going to be the total that we have so far, and value is going to be the current index that we're going to add to the accumulator. So that might be a little confusing, but I'll break it down a little bit further as we continue. So here we do have our arrow, and we're going to use accumulator plus value here. And let's see, am I missing something? And I need another parentheses right there. We should be good to go. I think. Let me see. Mm, mm. Yeah, I think we should be good. I don't know where I broke my code at so far. So, oh, I don't have a closing parentheses for the console log. Wait, maybe I do. Okay, cool. So everything looks fine now. Save that. If we refresh this and open up our dev tools, cool. So we have this value 15. So you might be sitting there like, I'm still lost. I have no clue what you just did here. Why is 15 logged to the console? So what I'm doing is I'm adding all of these numbers in this array together to produce that value 15. So like I said, in the definition that we have, we're running a reducer function, and um, each member of the array results in a single output value. So we're reducing all of these values to one single value. And so essentially what we're doing is we have an accumulator here, and it's starting at 0 and is adding 1. So it's 0, then it's adding 1. So our new accumulator turns to 1, because this is going to loop over and over until it goes to every index. So then the new accumulator is 1. It's going to say the new value is 2. It's going to add that 2 to the 1. That's going to become 3. 3 is the new accumulator. 3 is going to add 3, as that's going to be the next value. That's going to become a new accumulator of 6. So for our accumulator of 6, the next value is 4. Once you add that together, the new accumulator becomes 10. And with 10 being the new accumulator, the new value is 5. We're adding 5 to the new accumulator, and then we have 15. So essentially what we're doing here is we're adding all of these values together to produce one single output. So this isn't um only used for addition. You could do subtraction, you can do multiplication, you can do division. You can do whatever you need to do. You just kind of have to make sure that that you just code it right, that you write it correctly, and you're going to get return one single value. In fact, if I was just to take this and put a subtraction just so you can see live in action, we'll get negative 13 because we're subtracting, we're starting at 0 and adding, subtracting 1 is subtracting 2, and so on and so forth. So another key thing here that you'll see pretty often is somewhere to start the accumulator at. So it's starting at 0 when we began, and it's just kind of assumed. So I'm adding a comma and a 0 here, and that's pretty much how the code is reading it and how your browser is going to read it. However, I could do something like 10 and say we're actually going to start at 10. So the accumulator starts off at 10 and it goes to that first value, which is 1, and it adds that and it's 11. So if we run this now, we should get 25. So that's something to definitely keep in mind. I would say if you're dealing with math, I would probably hard set it or hard code it with a 0 here, just to ensure that I'm not accidentally there's no room for error there. If you just put the 0 there and tell it every single time to start at 0, I'm sure that it normally will, but it may not depending on what browser you're using, and there's always something. There's always a monkey wrench that gets thrown in somewhere. Um, and now I have some other numbers I'm going to show you just to show you just another example. So we're going to take num and give it these values here. We're going to save it. And now you see we have some pretty large numbers here. We have a good amount of them. We want to calculate all these numbers together. I don't know what these values maybe they're some money that came in from different accounts somewhere. You're helping the finance team work on something. You need to grab these totals and add them all together and return it to the team. I don't know, something like that. So here we're gonna just do our thing. We're gonna iterate over all of these and add them all together, and we should return a pretty large number here. So there we go. That quick and easy. I hit the refresh button and boom, we have the numbers added up already. So this doesn't just work for math problems. You might be thinking, well, I don't do that much math when coding. This can work for strings as well. This can work for a number of things. So I'm going to show you how we're going to create a string, and we're going to take those strings and we're going to use the reduce method to produce a single outcome. So I'm just going to go ahead and comment this out. And I actually have some variables put together for you already. We're going to stick to the Christmas theme, and we have Santa's reindeer. And so we have two groups of reindeer here. We have reindeer 1 and reindeer 2. So we have Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, and group 1. We have Comet, Cupid, Donner, Blitzen, and Rudolph in group 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to iterate over both of these arrays. I'm going to kind of put them together and I'm going to produce the whole noun dancer, noun dasher, noun dancer, on and on to on comet, on cupid, and then on Rudolph at the finale of the demo. So we have our variables already declared, and so let's go ahead and make a new variable here. Um, and I have these as let values because I actually tested them out. In my browser right before I recorded this video, and I like to use let when doing so because I'll often make mistakes when kind of live coding, and then I have to make a new array with a different name, and it just gets weird. So, if you see my video on constant let, you know that if you use let, it's a lot easier to change values. I guess I could change values using since it's an array a little bit easier than just a string or a number or something, but I just go flat most of the time when just doing quick things in the console. So, anyways, I digress. So we have reindeer 1, we have reindeer 2. So we're gonna create another variable. I'm gonna call that line 1 because he kind of keeps his reindeer in like two separate lines. I guess technically Rudolph is in the front by himself, but we'll just say he's going to be in line 2 later. So we have line 1, and in line 1 we want to run the reducer method on reindeer 1. So reindeer 1, we're going to reduce that, and I'm just going to use previous and x, and in fact I'm just going to use p and n as my variable names. So again, this just shows that you don't have to stick to um, one kind of variable names. It's just create a variable, go with it. Use something that makes sense to you. So we have previous and x here, or p and n, and then we're going to take the previous value that we have. We're going to add that to a string, and that string is going to be exclamation point now, comma, space. That'll make sense in a minute, plus n. So when we have that line, and the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to create another, we're going to create a group. We're going to call that group 1. So group 1 equals, and we're going to use string interpolation here. We're going to say now, line 1, exclamation point. Okay, cool. So I'm actually gonna go ahead and run this on a console, but I'm gonna run it one at a time, just so that just so you can see exactly what's going on here. So if I refresh here, I should be able to run reindeer 1, and we see that we have an array that says Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Vixen. Cool. That's exactly as we expected. So now we're gonna take a look at line 1 and see what's going on there. So if you look at line 1, we have Dasher, exclamation point, now Dancer, exclamation point, now Prancer, now Vixen, with no exclamation point after Vixen. So if we take a look at what we have here for line 1, we have our reduce method. We're using p and n as our variables. We're adding p plus uh, exclamation point space, now, comma, space, and then plus n. So to break this down exactly, we're starting with nothing. We don't need to put a zero or anything, because that's actually going to get weird. I can actually show you an example in a second, but it's going to be, it's going to start. There's going to be nothing previous. It's going to kind of loop, and then now is going to be Dasher, right? So it's going to start pretty much here, and it's going to say Dasher, and then it's after Dasher there's going to be a exclamation point, because we're going to loop again. Well, it's going to, sorry, let me back up. We're going to start here. It's going to be Dasher. He's going to be the next. So when we come back to previous, it's going to be Dasher, and then it's going to add exclamation point space, now, comma, space, and then the next value is going to be Dancer. And now we're going to loop back again, and we're going to have this Dasher, exclamation point, now, Dancer, and then we're going to add the exclamation point and then now after that, and then we're going to add Prancer in, and then that's going to loop back around and come back to Vixen. Now when it comes back to Vixen, it's going to stop. So we're going to get to Vixen, it's going to stop. It's never going to take this, so Vixen is never going to become P. It's never going to become previous, it's never going to become accumulator, however you want to think of it. It's going to stop right there, so Vixen is never going to get this exclamation point now added to it, which is fine. We'll fix that going forward. So and I also wanted to show, if we would have put something like a zero here, um, and refresh, and we look at line 1, it's going to get weird. You see we have this zero exclamation point now, and you don't want that. So sometimes you don't necessarily need to add this, um, and in this case we definitely don't want to do so. So we're going to save this, and then we have our line, our group 1. So if I look at group 1, sorry, let me refresh. If you look at group 1 here, we see that I've added the word now, comma, I've added a space, I've added everything from line 1, and I've concluded everything that comes with line 1 with an exclamation point. So now we have now dasher, now dancer, now prancer, now vixen with an exclamation point at the end. So perfect. We've got half of the poem done. So now we kind of just want to do the same thing just with reindeer too. So I'm going to make a line 2 here. Uh, sorry, that got weird. So we're going to copy that. We're going to call that line 2. It's going to iterate over reindeer 2. And then this, we're going to call this group 2. We're going to make this go over line 2. And we're also going to change this to on because the poem changes to on. The poem about the reindeer changes to on instead of now. And that means that we also have to change this to on, save that, and we should be good to go. So I'm just gonna refresh and really quickly run through to make sure everything is on the up and up. So our array looks fine. Our line 2 looks fine so far. We're missing the on before comment and exclamation point after Rudolph. And if you look at group 2, we see we have that on before comment and the exclamation point after Rudolph. Okay, perfect. So now, next thing we want to do is we just want to kind of put this together. So we're going to make a new variable here, and that's going to be poem, and that's going to be set equal to, and using string interpolation again, we're just going to call this group 1. We're going to put a space here. We could really do a line break, but it's not that big video. We're just gonna put it all together. We're gonna refresh here or open a new tab. So we're gonna refresh here and we're gonna run poem, and boom, we have the poem right there. We have everything put together, and we did all of this just using the reduce method. If you see, we started off with 2 arrays, and then we decided we was gonna reduce all of these values, then add some words to it, and we were gonna put it all together into a poem, and we did that in what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines of code. Um, you see that like line 5 and 7 are kind of wrapped. I have the word wrap on, but it's literally about all of this single lines of code. If we had done this using a for loop, who knows how many lines of code we would have had. This is way faster and way more convenient. I really like this is one of the reasons I love using these higher order functions. Now we see at the end how I put these together using string interpolation. There's a few other things that there's another way we could have done this, where we could have kind of put these back into arrays, because when they were returned, they was returned as strings. I'm not sure if you noticed, but example, if you look at line 1, we had an array, we returned a string. So we could have pushed this back into an array, and we could have done that for both line 1 and line 2, pushed them back into an array, and we could have created a new array with the value of those 2 arrays, and that's actually going to be the subject of the next video. So we're going to use something called the spread operator. It's not a higher order function, but it comes in handy quite often. And once I go over that with you guys, I have a bigger I don't want to call it a project, but just something that's going to put everything that I've gone over with these higher order functions. It's going to take it, it's going to put it all together in a bigger, um, something just bigger. There's going to be objects for you to iterate over, instead of just small arrays of numbers or a couple of strings. We're going to have objects. We're going to do some math. We're going to combine some arrays together. We're going to have a lot of fun in that video. So check that out. That should be coming pretty soon. Next couple days. Hopefully sooner than later. I have a couple things going on, so it might take me a little longer than I've been getting these videos out lately. But if you're following Twitter, I'll definitely keep you updated there. And that kind of brings us to the end of the video and to the part where I say thank you for watching and sticking in it for so long. If you're not subscribed to the channel, if you could please subscribe, it's definitely a big help. If you all subscribe, thank you for subscribing. You guys and your support has been really amazing. Go ahead and like this video if it's helped you, especially if you had no clue what the reduce method was or how it worked. I really hope that what I went over in the video helped you understand it and helped you understand it better than maybe some article would have explained it, because I definitely had trouble reading articles on this. Um, and yeah, go ahead and you can follow me on Twitter at QuackCodeFire, and I'll have some new videos coming out for you soon. Thanks for watching.